Imagine a guy who never chased the spotlight but ended up shining in it anyway. He was a hustler with a quick tongue and a knack for turning forgotten junk into treasure. Alongside his partner, their chemistry lit up the screen, making them the kind of reality TV duo you couldn't stop watching. But behind the scenes, life was messier than any storage locker they ever cracked open. What happened to pull him away from the fame he never asked for? The truth is a wild ride, grittier and more human than you might guess. He grew up in a coastal town, curious and scrappy, always tinkering with whatever he could get his hands on. But home wasn't a safe harbor. Without much guidance, he veered off course early, ditching high school and slipping into trouble. By his early 20s, he was in deep court with drugs, facing felony charges. A short stint behind bars for meth possession should have been a wake-up call. But just weeks after getting out, he was back in cuffs. This time, it was for moving narcotics and driving under the influence. That second hit landed him over a year in prison, and it changed everything. Locked up with hardened criminals, he saw his future staring back at him, and it wasn't pretty. He swore he'd never end up like them. So, he got clean, joined a recovery program, and walked out of those cell doors determined to rebuild. By the late 90s, he was piecing his life back together, starting with a sales job at a carpet cleaning business. That's where he met Hertha, woman who'd become his partner in life and on screen. She was new, sharp, and not easily impressed. He was her boss, which made things tricky, and their co-workers didn't exactly root for them. Notes left on his truck told him to ease up, be kinder, but he wasn't one to give up. She'd later say he wore her down, tailing her like a lovesick kid, until she gave him a shot. Sparks didn't fly right away, but his persistence and humor won her over. They left their jobs to avoid drama and dove headfirst into a relationship that would define their lives. Together, they hustled through odd jobs, from fixing up mobile homes to chasing bigger dreams. He had a vision, his own clothing line, something bold for the biker crowd. It clicked fast. His knack for understanding what people wanted turned it into a small success, proving he could carve his own path. They started a family, raising 2 kids through some heavy challenges. Their daughter was born deaf and needed surgery at just 6 weeks old to hear her first sounds. Later, speech therapy and cheerleading helped her find her voice and confidence. Their son faced his own scare mass on his kidney that kept them on edge, with months in the hospital stealing chunks of his teenage years. Through it all, they held tight, but the weight of it tested them. The early 2000s brought new struggles. He jumped into the mortgage game, trying to provide while she stayed home with the kids. But the housing market crashed, wiping out his job and their stability. Desperate for a lifeline, a family member tipped him off about storage unit auctions. It was a gamble, bidding on strangers, abandoned stuff, and flipping it for profit. They took the leap, and soon their house was bursting with inventory. He'd laugh later about nearly ending up on a hoarding show. Instead, they turned chaos into opportunity, opening a small thrift shop that became their new hustle. But what's next for a couple like this? Could a random encounter change everything? One day, at an auction, he struck up a conversation with a TV producer scouting for a new show. That chat led to a camera crew showing up at their shop. She was there, her wit and charm stealing the spotlight. The producers saw gold in their dynamic and offered them a spot on a reality series about storage unit hunters. When the show hit the air in 2010, it exploded. They became the young rebels of the cast, known for their fiery banter and sharp bidding instincts. Fans loved their back and forth, their competitive edge. What started as a side gig for shop publicity turned into a life-changer. Suddenly, they were recognized everywhere. Chefs sent free dishes. Friends called it a lottery win. But fame's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Adjusting to the spotlight wasn't easy. They never planned to be TV stars, and the pressure of constant attention started to show. After 4 seasons, they stepped away, not to quit, but to take on their own show. In 2014, their spin-off launched, zooming in on their lives as parents, shop owners, and a couple trying to plan a wedding after years together. It was less about treasure hunts, and more about their chaotic, relatable home life. Viewers saw them bicker over wedding plans, with him joking about skipping the altar, and her frustration bubbling over. Their kids got dragged into the mess. Pool games turned into gambling lessons, and he pushed for a home bar she flat out refused. The show leaned into their quirks but didn't last. After 1 season, it was done, and they returned to the original series, where their chemistry still lit up the screen. If this story's hitting you, Please share it with someone who'd get it. It means more than you know. But where does it go from here? The cracks in their world were starting to show. Back on the main show, their arguments over bids and business kept fans hooked. One time, she accidentally bid on a locker, and he turned it into a prank war, sneaking bids behind her back. She wasn't laughing when she got stuck with units she didn't want. Off-screen things were unraveling too. They ran their thrift shop and raised their kids, but the strain was real. By late 2018, they'd quietly split, keeping it secret for years. The news broke in 2020. Around the same time, word got out about his arrest for resisting police after a bar scuffle. In an interview, she confirmed she was raising their teens alone, a role she'd been handling for a while. The pandemic made it tougher, with emotions running high as the kids adjusted to a new normal. She gave them space to heal, knowing they were hurting. Their split wasn't a total shock to fans. Their on-screen fights, once played for laughs, hinted at deeper issues. Rumors swirled: infidelity, money troubles, clashing ambitions. They kept the details private, but the tension bled into later seasons. When the show returned in 2021, they showed up separately, no longer a team. The vibe was Roshi called him out over a bid, and he retaliated by outbidding her just to prove a point. Their dynamic shifted from partners to rivals, each chasing their own wins. Fans hoped for civility, but sarcasm and jabs defined their exchanges. Off-screen, she was finding herself, stepping out of his shadow, while he moved on with a new relationship, sharing happy moments online from amusement parks to cozy date nights. Then came a darker moment. In 2021, they ran into each other at a bar, and an argument turned physical. Witnesses said he pushed her, leading to a police report and a misdemeanor domestic violence charge. The network took notice, and he was expected to step back from the show. He pleaded not guilty, but details on the case stayed quiet. By 2022, she was back on the series, but he was gone, his exit unmarked by any official word. What happens when the cameras stop rolling? Can someone rebuild after losing so much? Since leaving the show, he's kept a lower profile, but hasn't vanished. Social media shows him living life, posting about his new partner and their adventures. Fans are split: some cheer him on, others still hope for a reunion that'll never come. He tried his hand at another reality gig, racing cars in a short-lived show abroad, calling it a blast despite the chaos of foreign traffic. His clothing line, once a point of pride, seems to have folded, with its website dark and social pages silent. The thrift shop closed too, but he didn't stop hustling. In 2019, he opened a bar and grill, pitching it as a fresh start, a place to build community. His posts now focus on that venture, a far cry from the TV lights. His stories are messy: one triumph, mistakes, and redemption all tangled together. From a troubled kid to a reality TV star, he rode a wave of highs and lows. The fame, the fights, the fallout, it all shaped him. Whether he'll return to the screen is anyone's guess, but his journey's far from over. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Life's a gamble, just like those storage lockers, but sometimes the real treasure is finding a way to keep going.